Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're well. Slightly later today. It's been one of those beginning of the weeks where I've not been around a lot. I've been behind the wheel of a car and had to divert my attention elsewhere, but I thought I'd better get out to the garage and do some stuff. Well, a couple of days ago, I did this video here, and I'll show you the thumbnail. Starmer betrays us on Brexit. Now, what did I mean by that? Well, I've known, and we've all known for a long time, that despite the result of the referendum, there's certain politicians in certain corners of our political makeup who have done everything in their power to overturn or pretty much cancel out what happened. Keir Starmer is one of those. He has said, as part of, Labour's manifesto, really, that he wants a reset on our relationship with the EU. What does he mean by reset, I wonder? And also, what concessions do we have to give to the EU for this reset to occur? Personally, I believe we never left, or we only left in name only. Brino, they called it. Well, one of those concessions is to allow an amount of free movement of younger people between us and them. It's reciprocal, so an amount of them come over, an amount of ours can go over there. But, it's free movement nonetheless. And as one of my YouTube friends, Clown World, was heard to say about another subject, it starts somewhere and then builds and builds and builds. It's mission creep, isn't it? It's what they want us to get used to. Now, what I wanted to do is just go through some of your comments on that video and air your views and opinions and what you had to say. So let's go for it. Okay, Jim Spock. I love that. I wonder where your inspiration's from. Is anyone naive enough to be surprised? Well, I'll tell you what, Jim Spock, logical comment. There are people out there that probably are naive enough to be surprised. Those that are still believing the mainstream media, still believing what the politicians tell them, and still believe that they have our best interests at heart. Sick aim, is that it? I had zero expectation for him to honour it. Nope, neither did I. There's a video going around, and you can find it online. I'm not saying anything out of the ordinary here, where he says repeatedly, and in his defence, there are others that say it too, this will be a once-in-a-lifetime referendum, once-in-a-lifetime choice, and that'll be it. And he's done everything in his power since to swerve the other way. Really disturbing. And he thinks he wants 10 years to help fix the country. So, pardon my pun there. V King, Starmer would sell his grandmother if it was an advantage to him. I always said he couldn't be trusted to run this country, yet many who don't normally vote Labour were so disillusioned with the Conservatives they thought they would give them the chance. Give them a chance? What with? Running this country of ours into the ground. You make a very valid point. People are pissed off with the Conservatives. Why did they vote Labour? Because they were trained to think that that's the only choice we had. And also any votes that got shuffled Reform's way or anywhere else, because you've got the disenfranchised that don't bother, plus the other factors that come into play. It was a disaster. I mean, all we can hope is that they make such a hashish of the whole thing that something drastic and different will happen next time round. Can you imagine 10 years of this? Ugh. Captain Chaos, is that right? Starmer is a traitor to his country, but so was slimy Sunak. Although I would add Sunak is not really British. Got an American passport, hasn't he? Or access to America. Christian Battelle, Starmer is the lowest form of life. He's nothing but a traitor. Stabbed his country in the back. We have a very big problem with free speech and civil liberties and all the rest of it in this country. Which are all coming into question. West Coast, this would be undemocratic and would be the end for the Labour Party. Well, I think it would bring very, very big questions over, everything, wouldn't it? If Brexit is reversed, we're toast. Tony Esposito. I mean, before I read Tony's comment, there was somebody said to me, "Oh, they'll never undo it. They'll never reverse it. Can't happen. Blah blah blah. It'll take years." I, I'm not so sure. Not so sure. Okay, Tony. Well, I'll go to the foot of our stairs, and I heard hard Ramongo politician reneges on previous promises. Next up, amnesty for all the migrants already here, future Labour voters, just like the Dems are doing. Yeah. Her user. Why is anybody surprised? Their so-called public servants do what they want. Brexit has never been honoured anyway. I tend to agree. I don't think it has in its entirety, or the consequences as such have been made so difficult that they're trying to convince us all it's a disaster. Mark Elwood. After 4 years of Labour in 2028, Britain will be poorer, divided, and a very different nation from what our grandparents lived in. Starmer in power, God help us all. Well, you look at what's happened in a very short space of time, just over a month, coming up for 2. It's scary what could be next, isn't it? User, Tories thick and stupid. Labour, evil. 2 cheeks of the same arse. John T. Ward, the point about Australia and Canada is that those are Commonwealth countries succumb under immigration service policies IS 80 on entry and IS 82 after entry, which includes the working holiday maker scheme. This does not apply to any non-Commonwealth countries whose equivalent documents are IS 79 and IS 81, respectively, unless something big has changed since I worked in the immigration department years ago. Geeks a tier, 2-tier WEF EU. Yeah, same again. We voted leave, not a wishy-washy leave, but to leave fully. Don't want pay to be in a rich man's fan club. 2-tier needs to keep his nose out. Yes. I think if you go sucking up to that organisation, you're going to end up with more than you bargained for. Jane Evans, not even a good job on rejoining the union. Under 30s, what sort of a half-hearted effort is that? Or nothing. Tom Russack, gullible is the word you're looking for to describe the English. Yeah, I mean, people keep talking about the Union and Great Britain and all the rest of it. And, I think the last word of your sentence is very poignant there. Black Cabacusa. When all is said and done, what businessman fails to protect his largest market as fucking stupid one? And for those in the know, the only sunlight upland was the restoration of bankers' bonuses and the preservation of Britain's offshore tax haven, Archipelago. Richard Strangeward, anybody but a complete idiot can see Brexit has and continues to damage this country. Well, Richard, you're one of many that has that opinion. And by God, you're entitled to it. It's called free speech at the end of the day. But I would argue that we never got Brexit the way we were told we would get Brexit. I believe that it was some half-hearted, convoluted bullshit that's led to complete and utter disaster and major problems. I do wonder if everything went as we were promised, which, let's face it, was never going to happen, would we all be talking differently? But thank you for your comment. John Harris, Starmer must be breaching something within the democratically decided terms of the Brexit referendum. Well, I think he's not done himself any favours on a few fronts. So you could be right. Jane, well, we never got Brexit properly, and now we never will if he has his way. I think there'll be more of these cosy meetings, definitely. ETA Henry, sorry, but many English youngsters can barely wash their hands, let alone keep a job. No doubt a fault of the EU, WEF, Davos, who. Yeah, I mean, that's another valid point, isn't it? Right. We've got this complaint that when all the Polish and all the rest of it get slung out the country, we've got no one to do the menial labour jobs that need doing, and all of our teenagers and all of our young won't get their asses out of bed and go and do what's required. Now, to put it into perspective, I mean, I'm pushing 50, and when I was 13, do the maths, I had a job at the local farm. I had to get up really early in the morning, cycle down there. It's probably a mile, if that, across the fields and everything. I'd spend the day down there. I mean, this was during the summer holidays from school, granted. Spud picking. Yeah, I don't know if anybody remembers the old piecework where you get so much per box. And then if you've got a stack of boxes, you get a bonus. And then at the end of the week, you go and get your brown envelope full of cash from the farmhouse. That's how I bought my first computer. Working for it, appreciating the value of money, paper rounds, waitressing, bowl washing in restaurants, loads and loads of things to get kids started somewhere, earning money, appreciating what they get. It's all gone by the wayside. Is this as a result of cheap labour, people coming in from the European continent to, do all of these jobs, and our teenagers think, and a lot of them end up on benefits and not getting a start in life. It's wrong, and then they get demonized for it later. There's not the opportunities anymore, and it's a shame. Janet, no, we've read yours. Red Imp, I think it's only a matter of time before they announce that you're going to be fully integrated into the EU. None of you will do anything about it, just like anything else that these people know. They will get away with it, and they know that you won't do anything about it. That's the problem. Well, as we've seen over recent weeks, when people have taken to the streets and expressed their displeasure at an event, we will call it, they've all been labelled as far right. Granted, there's individuals within those groups that hijacked everything, and threw bottles, kicked coppers, burnt buildings. But initially, it was concerned citizens who rightly said, we've had enough. Our children aren't safe, and acted accordingly. And now, you've got arrests, not dealing with the symptoms, dealing with the the immediately apparent, and then other people get scared into commenting. Other people get scared into and thinking, well, what if it's awful, the amount of coercive control, I suppose, they have on absolutely everything. All we can do is educate, really, and enlighten people what's really going on. Steady number one, they're effing commies. They always creep things in, hence the long march through the institutions. Yeah, you chuck it to people all at once, they'll get the ump. It's mission creep. Christine Davison, I absolutely give up on this government of ours. Aren't they supposed to work on our behalf to do the bidding of the people that put them in power? Yep, absolutely. This is one of the problems, one of many. James, why is the media not saying anything about the attack on the police officers at Manchester Airport? Why do you think? Seems a lot of appeasement, doesn't it? Jeanette, so did I vote out, and not do I. All the best to you and your family. Thank you, Jeanette. Appreciate it. Sim 6699, they already have missed if our fishing quota from our fishing waters. Yeah, that's a big bugbear, isn't it? Brent Westbrook, the one thing I distrust 2TK on is everything. Yeah, absolutely. David, youth mobility schemes. How old are most of these bloody illegals coming in on boats? They'll be able to just walk in and not lose their passports with this. Yeah, it's the question of making it legal, isn't it? And then it disappears. Let's have this comment as the last one. David Martin. Here's a question, Andy. Since Labour won the general election with a massive majority, what do you think is stopping Keir Starmer from saying, let's have another referendum on EU membership? Say to the public, do you want to stay out or go back in? After all, he has a democratic majority. What if the benefits were listed of staying out and of going back in? What do you honestly believe the voting public would say? Remember, it's been 8 years and a lot of older voters are dead. Oh, that one. And a lot of new voters who are sympathetic to rejecting Brexit are now of an age where they want the benefits of membership. Remember, the lies told, just a thought. Well, yes, he had a massive majority. And I'll pull these comments off the screen because yours is the last one. Yes, he had a massive majority, but if you look at the percentage of the public vote that majority came from, it weren't that big, was it? I see what you're saying. 8 years is a long time. And there's a lot of would you vote differently if given the chance again? Me personally, I wouldn't. There's this distinguishment or this confusion between the European Union and Europe. I have a problem with one, but I don't have a problem with the other. I don't want this political or this perceived political oversight. Yeah, forget the millions of pounds and Boris's bus and everything else for a second. Seemed to be a lot of decision making and a lot of bureaucratic mentality that went on away from Westminster somewhere else, which had an effect on this country. I'm not going to go into England and this country. That's what I had a problem with. I don't have a problem with Europe. Never did. I like Europe. I think we should be able to trade with Europe. Yes, you could argue that all of those trade agreements were already in place. We're a member of the EU, blah, 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 blah. But the world is a big place. I do believe that, people out there will be convinced otherwise, given enough time, given enough mission creep, as you call it, and maybe at some point in the very near future, what you suggest may come to fruition. Time will tell. Thank you, everybody, for your comments. I appreciate them all, as always, as well as your support. We're getting very near 100,000 subscribers. I think 2,000, something like that, left to go. So I would very much appreciate, if you haven't done so already, consider subscribing to the channel. I've been called far right and all sorts, talking shite and all the rest of it, but I'm just centre right, kind of over there somewhere. And I just try and look at things from as commonsensical as I possibly can and hope that you do too, and we can discuss and everything else. Hit the like button, share me on your socials. And, if you want to keep up to date with what's going on or my opinion of stuff, then please consider subscribing. And as always, I look forward to talking to you again soon. Toodaloo.